Hi, this is Dr. Lalendra Kumar Tiwari. Today I will deliver a lecture on the topic Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening by Robert Frost. Stopping by Woods is an episode which expands in meaning and becomes a parable of life and death. The poem can be read on different levels. It can be taken to represent the dilemma of Frost's life or representation of the theme of duty versus beauty, dilemma of a lover or a husband, a view of a man vis-a-vis the cosmos and man's existence in the context of life and death, with particular reference to the human desire to seek a respite from the routine of life and human duty to face the music of life. Lawrence Thompson reads the poem as a soliloquy of a rural traveling. However, he reads in the poem the metaphor of life as a journey. Apparently, the poem may be said to deal with what Howard Humford Jones calls the cosmic loneliness of Frost. A reading of the poem reveals that the I in the poem is generic and that the poem has universal appeal. It is essentially a poem about human existence. Lionel Trilling calls Frost a terrifying poet as he represents the new terrible actualities of life in a new way as in the present poem. Stopping by woods on a snowy evening, it was this lyric which touched the heart of Pandit Nehru after his death on 27th May 1964. It was discovered that on the office table of Nehru there lay a piece of paper bearing the lines from this lyric. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. The lyric is simplicity itself. On the surface, it is no more than a simple anecdote relating how the poet pauses one evening along a country road to watch the snow fall in the woods. Then he remembers that his journey has a purpose. He has promises to keep, so many miles to go before he can yield to the dreamlike release which the woods seem to offer. The poem expresses the conflict which everyone has felt between the demands of practical life with its obligation to others and the poignant desire to escape into law of reverie, where consciousness is dimmed and the senses are made independent of necessity. The story of the poem is simple. It is about a man riding a horse through the dark woods of the fall of evening. Of a sudden, he stops to admire the scene around him and to watch the snow falling in the darkness. He tries to recollect the name of the owner of the woods. The horse becomes restless and shakes his harness bells. The poem ends with the man realizing that he has promises to keep and miles to go before he sleeps. The poem begins with the statement that the poet thinks he knows the owner of the woods who lives in the village. Since the owner of the woods lives in the village, the poet is certain that he will not be seen by him. He enjoys stolen places, watching the woods fill up with snow. It is a solitary indulgence, a stolen joy. The poet has been compelled by an urge to stop and watch the woods fill up with snow. When it is like darkest evening of the year, the poet, the dreamer in the man, is enchanted with the hypnotic beauty of the woods. But the horse is surprised why his master has stopped without a farmhouse near. The darkest evening symbolizes the cold nature of death, the death that the dreamer would have to face if he stays a little longer in this freezing cold. So, before we can find an answer to why the poet has stopped on such a chilly evening, we hear in the third stanza the horse shaking his harness bells to ask if there was some mistake. The horse symbolizes the realist who must wake up the dreamer and tell him the reality. If he waits there any longer, he too will freeze like the freezing water in the lake. The sound of the tingling bells are like a warning to the poet, an alarm for him to wake up. In the last two lines in the third stanza, our attention is arrested by the musical symphony created by the sibilant alliteration of S, the liquid sound of L. The woods are lovely. Loveliness is a quality that appeals to the soul, and hence it is something everlasting. We wonder for a moment whether the poet has imagined a world of reposefulness, a world beyond time and space.